how's it going? Goon coming at you guys again with another YouTube video, another acronym review to be specific. Today going over the P34-S. Bar none, some of the best cargo pants I've ever seen. If you guys are interested in acronym reviews and other clothing related content, I recommend doing a subscribe down below. I only say this because we are coming up on 1,000 subscribers and that is super cool. I would appreciate that if you would like. But with that formality out of the way, I want to get into the P34s, which are easily some of the best cargo pants that I can think of. They have so much going on with them and they're so easy to use while also having a lot of functionality to them, and I want to get into all the details like I typically do with the pants, starting from the top to the bottom, but I also want to get into the history as well as the sizing, some pros and cons, and how I style the pants overall. So I think we're going to start off with the typical thing, which is the history, and we will move on from there, shall we? So the P34s have a relatively short but also long history at the same time, if that makes any sense. The pants came out in autumn winter 19, aka like last fall winter, being that this is like fall winter 20 going on 21, 1 year ago around this time. And on top of coming out in a Stotz variant that was not only black but then a raft green or a khaki color, they also came out in an encapsulated nylon version as well, being a black material, same exact pant model, just in that encapsulated nylon. Since then, we haven't seen any new iterations of the P34, given that it's only really been out for a year. But if we look way back, the P1A E, aka the Epic Cotton P1A, had a lot of similar designs to it that are seen on this pant. The main differences between the P1A and this pant being a lot of detail in and around the knee, as well as the cuff, which I will be getting into later on in the video. These are definitely a pant all their own, but they definitely take cues from that P1A that we saw back in 2007. If you want an articulate description of these pants in particular and how they are comparable to the P1s, I definitely recommend checking out Huiben Shop's description for the P34 E's, the encapsulated nylon ones that came out alongside these, and I'll leave a link to the description for that down below, so check that out, please. So now that I've talked about the history of the pant, I can get the formality out of the way of talking about what the acronym itself means, which is P34-S. P being pant, 34 being the 34th pant model that they've created, and then S being Stotz, which is the specific cotton fabric that they use to construct these pants. Having talked about the history as well as the acronym, I want to talk a little bit about the product description for the pants themselves because they lend us some interesting information, so I will put that on screen now. Some things that I find particularly interesting about the description is how it talks about the pant as a regular fit. Deal being is that this doesn't necessarily feel regular given how unique the silhouette of the pant is, but once we start talking about the details, it kind of reveals to us exactly why it's considered regular. The other thing that I found particularly interesting is the flamboyant language that they use when talking about the cinch on the pants and how it has this X pattern that allows it to be easily, de-knotted. I'll quickly go over Stotz since I've talked about it in my P26 video as well as my inaugural J30 video, but Stotz is a ETA-proof Ventile cotton. It's the go-to cotton that Acronym has been using in recent years. It's a meticulously made cotton that tends to absorb water once it actually hits the jacket, allowing it to kind of swell up and not let water through quite as easily if you are in rainy conditions. Does that mean that this is like the go-to rainproof material? Not necessarily, but it is very nice in how versatile it is because it is ventile, or ventilating I should say, when you're in hotter conditions. But if you do decide to wear these in colder months where it might be a little bit wet, get a little bit moist, that kind of thing, you've got a pair of pants that are really rigid and can really work in a variety of weathers, a variety of temperatures, that kind of thing. A very nice material, and it's my favorite material living in a warmer climate that California offers. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into all the details of the pants, starting off at the very top, going all the way down to the bottom, and so on. So let's get into it. So first things first, since we're kind of zoomed out with the pants overall, I want to talk about the sizing. So these are a medium. They are a medium pant. On their website, a medium usually is somewhere between a 32 to like a 34, and these definitely fit like a 34. But weirdly enough, for me, I'm a 30. And the way that the inseam works on these pants in particular fits very natural for me as a 30. It fits very nicely, even though I am, you know, a 30-inch waist. So the thing that I have to kind of keep in mind here is that even though you are getting a pair of pants that don't have any type of integrated belt system like the P27s, the P30s, or the P25s, P33, so on, you have a very wide waist on these. So go into buying these with your inseam in mind. I think that that's probably the most important factor. But then also understand that the waist is very roomy. And I think that it's very reliant on a belt to kind of get it taken in. That being said, the sizing of these says that they're regular, but they definitely feel very loose. And if you've ever had a pair of wide pants, you understand that a loose fit of pant is kind of necessary for the way that the leg works and how much it flows out, that kind of thing. So that's the way that I think about it, at least. That being said, I'm about 5'9", 5'10". These are a medium. I'm usually a size 30. The inseam fits me perfectly. Take that as you will. The thing with a lot of acronym stuff is how variable all the sizing is. So be very particular about the measurements that they give and that kind of thing when you go into a purchase. So now that I've talked about the waist and how large it can be, I'm gonna talk about the more specific details, which are the belt loops and the way that you're actually gonna be able to belt these pants down. The belt loops on the P34s are pretty typical. A lot of other pants have belt loops just like this. They have a typical kind of large size to them so you can fit a wide variety of belts through them, but then they also have little reinforced loops so that you can put keys onto the belt loop itself if you'd really like. The one thing that's very unique to Acronym in particular, and I haven't seen it with other pants, is the choice of having a belt loop go directly over the button right in the middle of the pant, just parallel with the zipper itself. My P26s as well as my P15s both incorporate this belt loop function right in the middle, and it's kind of odd to see at first. But once you actually start using it, it makes a lot of sense, because I've had countless times where I've had pants that have belt loops that are a little bit too wide, I guess, between each individual loop. And what that ends up doing is having these weird parts where that pant might sag down a little bit between individual belt loops. So having this one on the front keeps it nice, straight, and tight towards the front. Moving directly down from the belt loops, we have the pockets themselves, and the pockets are DeepPockets, which is just Acronym's like pseudo patent pending function in which they have very large pockets that wrap around the entirety of your thigh. What this just allows you to do is be able to put a wide variety of stuff into the hand pockets themselves, and because of the unique construction of the pocket, certain things of certain weights will fall into different parts of the pocket. So there's a smaller kind of drop section that goes towards the back of the thigh where change or glasses or stuff that's relatively thin like to fall, but then you have a front portion of the pocket where heavier stuff or just your hands like to sit. And it's a really unique implicit design that Acronym is imbued in the pants, and it's something that I always kind of take for granted until I actually look at it from a third-person perspective and realize how useful that kind of pocket function is. These aren't the only pockets, however, given that these are a pair of cargo pants, and I can tell you for certain that all of these different pockets on the pants have unique functions, and it's kind of crazy to say the least. There's a lot going on. The next pocket that we see is this one that has a unique Aquaguard zipper on it. It is straight, it just goes right across the thigh. It's a very square pocket, and it works well for a variety of things. It's very standard compared to some of the other pockets here. It's just square, it works as such. And this is one of those details that we saw on the P1As. They also had this Aquaguard zipper pocket that just ran across the front. It's cool. It works for stuff that you want to be secure and out of the rain. Need I say more? Just across from this Aquaguard pocket, however, we also have the phone welt pocket, which is particularly unique to Acronym pants in particular, and something that I love. It's probably the thing that I use on a pair of Acronym pants the most. The welt pocket is sized very specifically for a phone, something that you can just slide your phone into and get out whenever you'd like, and leave your hand pockets unimpeded if you decide to put your hands in there. I love this pocket for a variety of reasons. It works not only well for a phone, but it also works really well for sunglasses and other stuff of a relatively small size. The thing that I also find kind of interesting is the fact that Acronym kind of decides to size up or size down, well, I guess just size up the Pocket in particular when new phones, new larger phones come out, so that the phone pocket still works really well. The pair of P15s that I have a much smaller phone pocket because at that time, the phones that were made when those pants were out were a little bit smaller. So they were articulated to phones of that time, whereas this phone pocket is much larger. And other more recent pants that I have a larger phone pocket as well because it's just made for current phones. So it's just something interesting to keep in mind. If you decide to get a pair of old Acronym pants, know that you might have to have a smaller phone to be able to use the phone pocket, or it might just have to have a, different use case. Moving immediately down from this phone pocket and this Aquaguard pocket, however, we have the big bopper, we have the cargo pockets themselves, and let me tell you, these are some killer cargo pockets. And the first reason why is because they are mezzanine pockets, but they are also typical cargo pockets. What I mean by mezzanine, and if you've seen my 3A1 video, you might be semi-familiar with this, but a mezzanine pocket in particular, in the span of Acronym product, is just a pocket that is completely opened, unstitched, doesn't have any zipper attached to it, and it just allows you to be able to drop stuff into it. And God, I love it so much. Just having the ability to freely drop stuff into the pant and have it feel like it's going to be safe because of the way that the pocket is designed is killer. It's great for things like a quarantine mask if you're going out and about. It's good for stuff like your phone if you don't even want to put it into the phone welt pocket. It's good for stuff like a slim camera or something like that. There's a wide variety of ways in which you can use this type of mezzanine pocket, and I'm for it. I love being able to just drop stuff in and not have to worry about it. If you have something that is particularly sensitive, however, and you want to keep it in the cargo pocket, well, let me tell you, the inside of these cargo pockets are just as interesting and have a lot of stuff going on with them. Just opening up the cargo pocket itself, we can see a little bit of Acronym function in that the one button that is used to open up this pocket itself has a YKK Flex Fix button attached to it on a little nylon band. And you might not really be thinking about this all that much, but what it allows you to do is be able to thread your finger through that loop to be able to close it again when you need to do so. And I just think that's so killer. I have other cargo pants that don't use this, obviously, because it's, kind of Acronym's thing. And what this just allows me to do is be able to access anything in that cargo pocket with one hand. And I love that. I don't have to worry about it. There's nothing to stress out about. I've got this little loop to be able to button it back up again, and that's fine. And I also don't even need two buttons to be able to access the whole thing. This pocket only has one button on it, and you can get into it in as many ways as you'd like, just being able to pull the flap up and handle it in that way, and then being able to button it back up again with one hand. It's great in that sense. The little goodies don't end here, however, because once we open up this cargo pocket, we can see that there is another phone welt pocket. And yes, this is on both sides of the thigh. What that means is that these pants have 3 phone welt pockets on them at any given time. Pretty crazy. Outside of that, however, there's really not that much of a difference between a cargo pocket that's on one side of the body and the other. The only thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Aquaguard YKK pocket goes in slightly behind the mezzanine portion of the pocket on the left side of the thigh. It's just something that adds on a little bit of extra detail. And again, this is something that we saw on the P1As, so it's just a kind of revival in that sense. And it gives that little bit of asymmetry that Acronym totes about with their design philosophy. So cool regardless. But moving on from the cargo pockets, we can see how the cargo pocket itself layers over this very particular detail with the P34s, which is the incredibly heavy amount of articulation that is in and around the knee. Now, you might not be necessarily thinking about this all that much, but what I can tell you is that what this does is that this creates a very dramatic feel and shape to the pant, going from a very loose, relaxed, regular fit thigh that is on the upper portion of the pant to a very tailored yet still regular cut towards the knee and towards the ankle. And it's something that I think a lot of people desire when they're getting into more technical fits, this very articulated, this very aggressive kind of cut on a pair of pants. And I can see why, because not only does it fit amazing and look amazing, it just feels amazing as well. What this articulation does is that it creates these kind of large knee bags around each individual knee, and it gives this sort of freedom and flow of the fit itself, where the pant doesn't even necessarily feel like it's on you in those areas. On top of that, however, you also get a wide range of motion while you're wearing the pair of pants, and you get a way in which you can wear the pants and understand that even though this is a very structured, very rigid pair of cotton pants, you'll still be able to move in them very effortlessly. The downside to Stotz is how rigid it is, which, you know, can be a little bit annoying when you're wearing it, but this articulation remedies that just flat out, and that's something that I love. While you might be thinking that the articulation on these pants really gives it this unique edge and twist, which you'd be right about, outside of everything else that I've talked about, something else that is just like the cherry on top in terms of these pants is the fact that the fit is variable as well. And what I mean by that is the fact that the cuffs on these pants have a cinch inside of them, allowing you to be able to tie it to whichever size you'd like. If you want something that is incredibly tapered, you can do so by cinching a knot. If you want it to be a little bit looser, you can do that as well. This is something that I love about these pants. If I have a slimmer shoe, or if I have something that really kind of calls for a cinch in, I can do that. I can do that with these and it looks great. If not, it still looks great because of how articulated the knee is. The cinching function on these pants is great, and it not only gives that little extra edge in terms of function, but it also gives you a little bit of variety in terms of how you'd like to style these pants. And if you're feeling like you'd want them to look a certain way one day, you can do that. And if you have another pair of shoes that might demand another kind of fit for the pants overall, the cinches are there for you if you need them. The cinches on these pants work really well, and as you can see in the B-roll, it's relatively easy for me to be able to get them all cinched up nice and proper before I start using them. But what makes them cool, and it was mentioned in the description as well, is the fact that the cinches themselves have been interestingly constructed by Acronym themselves. It allows the cinch itself to not really get too tight so that you wouldn't be able to loosen it up or, you know, undo the knot if need be. And I think that that's great. There's actually been plenty of times where I've cinched it up and then I've been worried, oh man, because of this knot that I had to create, is it gonna be stuck like that? And given how robust the nylon is, it allows you to be able to open it up relatively easily. And I think that that's just something that's so cool, is the fact that they were able to look at something so specific, so minute, and still kind of give it a little bit of design embodiment or ethos to it, which I'm very appreciative of. Now that we're done with the entire front facing portion of the pants, I can talk about the back ever so briefly because there are details there as well. The first thing that you're gonna see up at the very top of the pants, just below the belt loops, is this very cool, very Acronym bit of detail, which is this nylon band that spans from one pocket on one side of the thigh to the other pocket on the other side of the thigh and just goes right over the rear of the pant itself. It's interesting to say the least. This isn't just a little bit of textural difference. However, this nylon band actually covers the two back pockets that are on the back of the pant, these relatively large back pockets, and I think that that's a cool little detail. It just makes that back pocket a little bit safer, but it's still relatively easy to access if you just flip up the nylon band and get to whatever you need. The final large detail, and it's kind of lackluster compared to everything else because this is something that is reminiscent of other cargo pants, but there is a large seat reinforcement as well that goes on either side of the thigh and around the rear, just to give a little bit more structural soundness to the pants overall, and it's something that I really like. Can't say anything about it. It's just a cool little detail. There are other things such as the tags on the inside, which are on the back pocket of the lining, as well as the fact that there is the Made in Europe P34-S tag that is on the inside thigh, but those don't need to be gone over all that much. They're just there for the sake of being that these are Acronym pants. The B-roll will show these. But now, given that I've gone over all of the details of the pants, I can talk about the most important part. You know, styling it. How does this look? How do these pants look? Well, let me tell you. I've got 3 different fits. They're all kind of like okay besides the last one, but I wanted to experiment with these because even though these are a cool pant and you can really style these up with a lot of the, you know, the typical, you can style these up with like the very typical kind of tech wear fit, which is not something that I avoided. I wanted to see exactly where I could push it given the kind of innate qualities of the pants itself, and I wanted to see what I could do. So some of these are a little bit unique. Some of these might need a little bit of refinement, but I liked what I was able to create overall. So let's get into it. Starting off with the first fit that we have right here, we have something that's a little bit more militaristic, a little bit more utilitarian, a little bit more workwear, a little bit more biker. On top, I've got the Acne Studios Scientist sunglasses in their black colorway. In terms of this jacket, I've got this Bruno Magli lambskin leather jacket, which is a very interesting piece. I bought this because this is very similar to the Yohji Yamamoto Supreme jackets that came out recently, which were referential towards the 6.1 The Man Yohji Yamamoto collection, something that I thought was very cool, and I like how it works in this fit. I've got the pants, and then I've also got these Rick Owens combat boots on the bottom that I just recently got from Mercari. I'll be making a video on some more recent pickups soon. I like this outfit overall, but it might need a little bit of refinement. I really enjoyed being able to cram the leg of the pant down into the Rick Owens boot, and I did that because the Rick Owens boot has this really robust, kind of wide leg to it that I couldn't get the cuff over. So I was like, dude, screw it. We'll put it inside the boot, and I kind of like the way that it looks. I think it could do well with a better upper, but I like the fact that this doesn't feel super technical to me. These cargo pants really kind of fit more into a utilitarian look, a little bit more militaristic, a little bit biker, if anything, I guess, and I like it for that reason. The leather jacket has this kind of cool, like fluid quality to it. It gives a lot more textural differences to the blacks that you see overall. The boots themselves are leather, but they are like a burnished leather, so that is not like a very true like black leather boot. They have this kind of suede look to them, and the glasses are just kind of this interesting little costumey, elegant touch. I like how it fits overall. Could it be refined? Yes. Could this potentially do better with another pair of pants? Probably, but I think that it works well overall, and I'm happy with the fit. So that's outfit number one, numero uno. Moving on to the second outfit, I've got something that's a little bit more stereotypically tech wear. This could also use some refinement, but this is something that I don't typically do a lot because it seems like, you know, it just seems very tech wear to me, but I wanted to give it a go regardless. On top, I've got this REI hat that I actually found at the park. I stole it and then I just threw it in the washing machine. Don't judge me. I've got the Acne Studios Black Scientist sunglasses on. I've got this Descent All-Terrain shell on top. I believe it's the Schematech shell. I got to double check on that, but it has a very similar look to the new T-Lac jacket that was the Acronym collab one. I think it's the Evolution jacket. Don't quote me on that, but it has a very similar cut to that. I've got the pants on the bottom, and then funny enough, I haven't worn them in ages, but I've got the Acronym Prestos on the bottom. I think I mainly made this fit because I wanted an excuse to wear the Prestos. I find myself going for them so infrequently, and I felt like these pants, the way that they're cut and with the articulation of the knee, I thought that they would look really good with the shoes, and I think that they still do. I think the upper part of the fit is kind of where it might fall apart ever so slightly. I like it overall still, but I think it just might be the incorporation of the hat being this dark gray and then the Prestos being this alternate gray. I have a really hard time being able to style grays. Funny enough, I have a hard time, you know, kind of creating a gray color range, but the very easy remedy is to just take off the hat and put on a beanie or something similar, and I've got a very interesting fit overall. The jacket itself is relatively slim profile, kind of tight to the body, so you have that very articulated look up there. The pants being a little bit roomier, have a nice relaxed cut in the thigh that tapered down really harshly onto the Prestos, so it creates a very aggressive but not very generic looking fit overall. At the very same time, your proportions are very defined and it has a cool look in that respect. So I like the overall fit of this accordingly. I think the only thing I would change is maybe just taking off the hat, but that's pretty much it. So that's outfit number two. Let's move on to the final one, my favorite one, outfit number three. Like I mentioned, outfit three is my favorite, and it's partially because I have this grail of mine in the fit overall, but starting off at the very top, we've got a brown Carhartt beanie. I guess khaki Carhartt beanie. I've got these silver Mason Margiela Mikita sunglasses that everybody's very familiar with. These just came back from the optometrist. They got repaired, so I'm super excited about that. Got a white t-shirt. I've got the Undercover 2010 Avacareta Life Gira parka, which is amazing, and I love it. And then I've got the pants, and then I've got the shoes, but what you might notice is the fact that the pants are cinched, tightened even more than they were originally, and then they sit right on top of these 11 by BBS Solomon Speed Cross 3s at the very bottom that are completely beat up and brown at this point, and I love how that interacts with the coat. I was kind of letting it onto it there, but I love all of the different tones that are in this fit overall. The kind of khaki brown that's in the shoes along with the whites, the way that the jacket has this kind of cream color, the silver tones in the jacket itself, matching sunglasses, and then these really kind of athletic looking pants, these really articulated looking pants, kind of, you know, tying the whole fit all together. It has this really sort of like on the move, very on the run kind of look to it overall, but it still looks fashionable. It still looks kind of avant-garde in a way. Don't quote me on that. It has, you know, it has these certain qualities to it that don't make me look like I'm like, oh, I'm about to go do a run. It has that kind of essence to it, but it feels a little bit more considered than that. I think the pants work effortlessly here, and the way that they cinch in on top of the shoes is just killer. The jacket has all of these different styling varieties and ways that can be taken advantage of, and I love how it feels on top. And the thing that I dig about this fit overall is that I feel like because it's warm in a way, but it's not like super warm, I can wear it through a variety of temperatures. It's not the kind of thing where I'm going to get to a certain degree and be like, I gotta take everything off. This works well in a variety of situations, and that's partly because of the functionality of the jacket, which I will be getting into in a later video, but it's cool overall for a variety of reasons. But that's all the fits, and we're coming up on the end of the video, but let me just give you guys a couple of pros and cons about these pants overall, and I'll send you on your way. Okay, so getting into some of the pros. I mean, these are easily some of the most easy to use cargo pants out there, and they spare no expense in creating something that is super articulated to the user, and I love it for that reason. What I mean by this is the fact that the pockets themselves are super easy to use. They don't have any gives. The cargos don't necessarily feel like some cumbersome element that makes it annoying. They feel very nice, very easy to use. And then on top of that, if you decide to put stuff into them and have them actually in use, they're not ballooning up, they're not screwing up the silhouette of the pant overall. They work well in that respect, and that's a huge pro when going into buying these pants. The articulated fit not only gives you something that's very comfortable to wear, but it also gives you something that I think is seldomly found on the market. What I mean by that is that if you buy into these pants, unless you have other Acronym pants in your lineup or you've done tailoring yourself, the articulation that you find in the knees of these pants is pretty unique, and you're getting something that you're probably not going to be able to find elsewhere all that easily. And so with that in mind, not only are you getting something that looks unique on the body, but you're getting something that works amazingly as well and has a fantastic feeling when you're in the pants overall. That's something that I gotta mention. Now that I've talked about the pros, I gotta talk about a couple of cons, but you know, take them with a grain of salt. They're not that bad. The first thing that I gotta mention is that the waist on these might be a little bit annoying to people who are paying a large sum of money for a pair of pants. You are probably gonna get these pants and they are probably not gonna fit on the waist. And I just say that as a guy who's a size 30. If you are 5'9" and you are like a 35, 36 inch waist, or 34 inch waist, these might fit you well, but the inseam might be a little bit funky then if you're a taller dude to account for that weight or whatever it is. The variable sizing in the waist is relatively annoying, and I know for a fact that whenever I put these on, it's gotta be with a belt if it's gonna fit, which can be, a little bit annoying because you have these very expensive pants. You want them to fit perfectly in many ways, but sometimes the best way of having a pair of pants look good is if you incorporate a belt and give it that kind of cinched in look, and I understand that, and I like them a lot for that reason. The other con is that while Stotz is a fantastic material, the one thing that you might notice throughout all of the B-roll, that kind of stuff, is that it fades relatively easily. Pants find themselves in the fray a lot more than a jacket, I would say. These are on your legs, they're in constant movement. They might need to get washed more for that reason. And if you decide to buy a pair of Stotz pants, just go into it knowing that you are going to put your own wear onto these pants and it will be visible. It's like buying a pair of blue jeans and then they're gonna whisker and do that kind of stuff. These are not exempt of that. They show their wear relatively easily, and some people might view that as a negative because I know a lot of Acronym people like to have their stuff looking pristine, and some might view it as a positive because it's that kind of idea of wabi-sabi like I've mentioned in other videos. But those are the pros. Those are the cons. Those are the details, that's the history, that's everything. The video is over with. What do you guys think about these pants? These are super cool in my eyes, and I'm very excited to be sending these off to my friend Joseph. So if you got all this way, Joseph, know that these are gonna be coming to you very soon. Also, guys, know that I have a lot of content on the near horizon. I've been a little bit lackadaisical with videos just because I've been very centric around job stuff, recently graduating and that kind of thing, but I have some very exciting stuff on the near future, especially if you're into more technical fashion, so keep an eye peeled for that. I've got another pair of Acronym pants that I'm going to be reviewing very shortly. It might just be the next video after this. But with all of that out of the way, this is the end of the video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it as always. Subscribe if you can, please. We're almost at 1,000. And with all of that out of the way, I'm gonna say goodbye. So as always, stay stylish.